Welcome back to MPB's boot camp for the math portion of the ACT. I am Miss Killen here to make sure that you get the best possible math score that you can get on that ACT. So we're going to dive into our lesson 15 and look at introducing some different strategies that we can look at. So I'm representing. So here we go. So we have introduction of these strategies. And the first one we're going to look at is our traditional math. Now, you've got all these different types of strategies, but we don't want to forget that traditional, just do the math. So let's go ahead and look at that. So it says, because speed is an issue on the math test for most students, it is necessary to have a plan for skipping items. This means it is not the same as not answering an item. In the first pass through your math test, which you will usually do multiple passes, you have so much time to work and you have so many problems. So you want to make sure that you do that first pass, get as many that you know how to work really fast, and then go back to that second pass and get the ones that's going to take you a little bit longer. And then if time for that third pass that you go through and you get those that's going to take you a minute or two to do all the processes and putting it in different calculators and stuff like that. So you want to have multiple passes to get as many possible right. All right, so this means it is not the same as not answering an item. In the first pass through the math test, we should guess on the item if they fall into specific categories. All right, knowledge about the specific math topic is weak, such as logarithms. Okay, some of us may not be the best at doing logarithms, so you want to make sure, okay, that's not my real forte, so I'm going to skip over it and come back and then work with a little bit of knowledge that I've learned about them. Or it may be on that third pass, I'm not real sure, so I'm just going to dig in and do my best. Okay, so it depends on your knowledge set, depends on which pass that logarithm question may fall into. All right, the problem is likely to take more than 2 minutes to solve. After 15 seconds of reading and rereading the item and you're still unsure how to start, all right, so you want to make sure that that's not one that you do in that first pass. How do I start this? Yeah, that's going to probably be in that second or third pass. And then maybe once you do a couple of other questions, oh, that's how I do it, so you can grab it in that second pass. So if that's just something that after you read it and you reread it and you're still not sure, let's go ahead and skip that problem and come back to it. All right, and so the next thing says, if you get stuck during the solving process, approximately 30 seconds. So after 30 seconds, I'm just going everywhere with this math, and I'm not really getting straight down to a problem, okay, or a procedure, or maybe I'm just throwing math out there. Okay, that's going to be a second pass. Let's go ahead and do that next problem that I'm probably going to get correct and get that one on my next pass. Because if you let all of that time take up with one problem, then you're not going to get to those problems that you know for sure. So that's something that we don't want to get stuck on, is maybe a procedural thing. All right, and none of the answer choices match your solution. Okay, you've done this beautiful math, and you get 3x plus 7. And there's not a 3x nor a 7 anywhere in any of the answer choices. Okay, I apparently have done something incorrect. So let me just go on and come back to that. Because after all of this math and all this work, I've not even got the key essentials of what they got. Yeah, I may need to rethink this. So we don't want to have these different types of problems in this category to slow us down from our ultimate goal of getting as many possible choices that are correct. All right, so our goal is getting through all items in approximately 35 minutes on our first pass to have a time to review. So that first pass, I'm taking 35 minutes, and I'm doing all the things that I can do just like that. So then I'm going to go back with my remaining time of that 15 minutes to look at some that were not necessarily easy for me to work. And then once I've gone through again, and I still got those two problems I just cannot get. So my last 5 minutes of this 15 for the second pass, I'm going to work for this last 5 minutes, these two problems. And I get this one after working, so I got it, and I got the correct answer, and I'm very confident, but I've got like 30 seconds left of this test, and I have one question. That, ladies and gentlemen, is when you go click and enter. Because the more you can answer, then you've got that probability or that chance, hey, she got it right, or he got it right, or they got it right. So you always want to make sure that you're using all your time very, very carefully to get those answer choices. All right? Okay, the math test includes a variety of items that can be approached in many ways. All right, like we said, traditional math. So I'm going to work the formulas. I am going to do the division. I am going to do the distributing, and I'm going to do all the things because that's the traditional math part of it. Because I can't do it in a calculator and I can't put it on Desmos. So I'm going to have to do that traditional math. Solving a problem using these same methods that we are taught in math class is really going to help us get into that. Yes, I know for sure. I'm very confident that is the answer, period. So that is that traditional math that we are looking at. And we've learned it. I mean, we learned it in our math courses, so it should be fresh on our minds. All right, so let's look at these. Which of the following x and y pairs is a solution for the system of equations? Now, this is when I would instruct my students, get them into y equals mx plus b form, traditional math that we've learned, and plug them into your calculator. It's traditional math. Or you solve them all or both of them for what y equals. And then you're looking for that solution where those two lines are going to cross. So we're using those traditional math steps and those traditional math methods to answer what our possible choices were. Now, another way that we could look at, and this is traditional math, is taking those x and y values and seeing if I get the answers. So I'm going to take -2, 3, and I'm going to plug them in. This is my x and my y value. So I've got -2 plus 2 times 3 equals 4. -2 plus 6 equals 4. That is the correct answer. That is. So I know that when I put these in here, for this one, I get the right answer. Now let's try the bottom one. So here we go. We've got -2 times -2 plus 3 equals 7. -2 times -2 is a positive 4 plus 3 equals 7. So I've used the traditional math, just plugging in my variables and then seeing if they solve correctly. So I could say that A is my answer. Now, another way that we do traditional math is our calculator. So how do we use that traditional math in our calculators, Ms. Killen? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our y equals. All right, the calculator won't come up to y equals. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get both of those into my y equals mx plus b form. So my first one is x plus 2y equals 4. I'm going to move that x by opposite operation. 2y equals -x plus 4. I'm going to divide. Y equals -half x plus 2. So here's 1. All right, so then I'm going to erase this one and do the next one. So let me go ahead and erase this. And then I'm going to take -2x plus y equals 7. Get that y by itself by opposite operation. Y equals 2x plus 7. So I'm going to plug those two circles into my calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got -1/2 x plus 2. And then I'm going to have 2x plus 7. And I'm going to graph it. Where do those two meet? Ms. Kelly, I really can't tell where they meet. So I'm going to go to my table and see if at -2, 3 I have the same values. And I do. So using those traditional math steps is going to help us solve these. And remember, traditional math steps and traditional math is also getting them in the correct formula so I can put them in my technology tool. So I don't want you to think, oh, traditional math is just paper, pencil, this, that, and the other. No, we learn traditional math using those tools. We're going to use them. So then let's look at the next one. It says in the parallelogram ABCD, side AC is diagonal. The measurement of angle ABC is 40 degrees, and the measurement of angle ACD is 57 degrees. What is the measurement of CAD? So the first thing I'm going to do, just so I can do a little manipulating, is I'm going to draw this. I'm going to draw the diagonal. I have B, C, D, A. It's asking for that. It said this one is 40. It says this one is 57. Now, we know when we took geometry, opposite angles equal. We know that a triangle is 360 degrees. And we know that we have two parallel lines cut by a transversal. We have the opposite are the same. So I have 40 degrees, 57 degrees. I can find this one to help me find that opposite. So here we go. So I have 40 plus 57 is 97, plus an unknown equals 180. I'm going to use my traditional math and find 180 minus 97, and I get 83 as this one. And since it's on opposite side of the transversal, it's also going to be 83. So my answer choice is going to be C. So I used my traditional math and what we learned in that geometry course, along with my traditional math and that technology tool, to find that missing angle, remembering the procedures and remembering the rules that we learned about that transversal. All right? So it says a line through the origin and 10, 4 is shown in a standard XY coordinate plane. The acute angle between the lines and the positive x-axis has a measurement of theta. What is the value of tan of theta? Now, you may not have taken trigonometry or got that far into your geometry course where you have a little bit of geometry. So that may be one of those second passes or even those third passes that you have. So I put a little note up here. Since the tan of theta is opposite over adjacent, the student can recognize that the opposite side, the opposite side is the height 4, and the adjacent side runs along the x-axis of 10. Plugging these values into the formula results in the tan of theta is 4 over 10 degrees, which is not one of my choices. So the student must reduce the fraction to 2 over 5. Obviously, 4 over 10 equals 2 over 5. Note, write fractions with horizontal bars, and this minimizes careless errors. So here's my thing. A lot of us do this. That's not how we write a fraction. Sometimes it can hurt us more than it can help us, because maybe if you're like me, your handwriting's not the best. Which one is 4 over 7 and which one is 417? So if we go ahead and write it like this, we know exactly, hey, that's a fraction, it's 4 over 7. So you want to make sure that we remember tan, opposite over adjacent. Remember, sine, cosine, tangent. Sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent, opposite over adjacent. There are many, many, many ways that you learn this rule. So, however you and your geometry or trigonometry teacher has learned it, that's something that you may want to go back over before you take this ACT math portion. Good job. All right, if for some reason you do not know how to solve a problem using the traditional math, you will need to use one of our other methods that we're going to learn throughout the course. You'll be able to say, oh, I can just plug in these numbers. Maybe I can pick some numbers. Maybe I can do an A, B, C, D type of deal. But there are always multiple ways to answer these questions. So I don't want you to think, oh, since I can't do the traditional math, I can't answer the questions. No, there's more strategies, and they're going to come following this lesson. I just want you to know that don't discount the traditional math method just because it's the old way. Now, we have learned a lot today. We have looked at how to use that traditional math. I don't want you to forget it. So the more you practice that traditional math, the more that you'll remember it and you'll remember how we use it. So As always, I am Miss Killen. I am here to make sure you get the best score that you can. Make sure you're practicing, 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 and I want you to have a great day.